Greetings, dear friends. We are glad to welcome you to the International Roundtables, which are a continuation of the international online conference, Global Crisis. This already affects everyone. The purpose of which is to collect all the facts and to understand the general picture of the crisis we are facing now and will face in the near future. This conference is organized by ordinary people from more than 180 countries, understanding and realizing the seriousness of the situation, especially with the climate crisis. People translated this conference live into 72 languages of the world. And on December 4th, 2021, we invite everyone to the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth.
Let me now introduce the participants of today's roundtable. So today we have with us Dr. Shatnam Dechakar, CEO Council of International Chamber of Commerce, that we will see if we can have her connecting with us. We also have Tuchar Pancholi, Director Pariyanava Vika Kendra, environmental activist and social worker. And we also have Diara, business assistant and participant of Creative Society project.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan, for introducing our guests today, and greetings to everybody. So the topic of today's roundtable is ecology. How did we reach the limit? And now we invite everyone to watch a video excerpt from the conference and start our discussion.
The Earth is a living organism, and everything in it is interconnected. The Earth is as much as an organism as a human, and it's just as vulnerable. Our illusion of happiness and well-being can be shattered in a moment.
%80 of lungs are damaged.
Each year, the world loses about 10 million hectares of forest area, equivalent to 27 soccer fields per minute. In 2015, an estimated 50% of the planet's wild forest had gone. If the trend is not stopped, we will only have 10% of the world's original forest left by 2030. In addition to industrial logging, large numbers of forests are being destroyed by annual fires, abnormal weather phenomena, and acid rains. Forests are also being destroyed in the so-called green pursuit. For example, 9,000 trees have to be cut down to produce a year's supply of paper bags for just one retail store. Forests are known to provide oxygen, but they are also home to many species of animals and plants. Deforestation leads to soil erosion, reduced river water availability, and enhanced greenhouse effect. And despite the signing of the UN Declaration on Forest in 2014, which aims to have deforestation by 2020 and to stop it permanently by 2030. The global average annual gross tree cover loss has increased by 40% in recent years. If forests disappear, 1/3 of humanity, which is currently heavily dependent on forest and forest products, will suffer poverty and death.
75% of skin is affected.
As of today, 75% of Earth's land area is already degraded as a result of human activity. By 2050, that figure could reach 90%. The main sources of soil contamination are industry, transport, agriculture, nuclear power, and huge areas of landfills. The production of environmentally friendly human health products is impossible on contaminated soil. Every year, 30 billion tons of fertile land are depleted worldwide. In other words, the equivalent of one soccer field of soil is eroded every 5 seconds. In the meantime, it can take up to 1,000 years to produce 1 centimeter of fertile soil, which means we will not be able to increase the soil layer in our lifetime. Almost half of the topsoil on Earth has been depleted in the last 150 years. Land degradation leads to food shortages and famine. Currently, about 40% of the world's population is affected by land degradation. It is more than 3 billion people.
Oxygen deficiency is being observed.
9 out of 10 people worldwide breathe polluted air. The main sources of anthropogenic air pollution are emissions by industrial plants, as well as all types of transport vehicles, thermal power plants, and waste incineration. Air pollution is one of the leading threats to child health, accounting for almost 1 in 10 deaths in children under 5 years of age. 24% of all deaths among adults are caused from heart diseases, 25% from stroke, 29% from lung cancer, all of which are induced by air pollution. Air pollution generated by burning fossil fuels is attributed to approximately 4.5 million premature deaths worldwide every year. The WHO estimates that air pollution kills more than 7 million people annually.
Liver badly damaged.
Marshes are a giant natural filter that effectively absorbs carbon dioxide, dust, and toxic elements from water and air. Within 1 year, 1 hectare of swamp absorbs 3 tons of dust from the air and 7 to 15 times more carbon dioxide than a hectare of forest, and releases 7 to 15 times more oxygen. Meanwhile, about 90% of wetlands have disappeared all over the world in the last 300 years, and now we continue to lose them 3 times faster than forest. Reasons for the disappearance of marshes are drainage for further agricultural use, urban expansion, and peat extraction. Swamps are being depleted as a result of water loss due to the weirs and dams construction, deforestation, and soil erosion. Contamination of marshes is caused by oil spills. Thus, the most important function of the marshes, cleansing the atmosphere, is impaired. If marshes stop absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere, its concentration will increase by 28% annually. Marshes are strategic storages of fresh water. Less than 1% of water on Earth is usable freshwater and is mostly stored in wetlands. The disappearance of marshes leads to a significant reduction in the supply of fresh water.
The blood test is not good.
2.2 billion people around the world do not have access to safely managed drinking water. Water scarcity already affects 4 out of every 10 people. Globally, at least 1.8 billion people have to use a drinking water source contaminated with feces. 2.6 million people die each year of diseases relating to the water and an unsanitary environment. That's 5 deaths every minute. 297,000 children under 5 die annually from diarrheal diseases due to poor sanitation, poor hygiene, or unsafe drinking water. According to the UN report, World Water Development Report, by 2025, an estimated 5.5 billion people may be living in areas facing moderate to severe water stress. The deterioration of the water scarcity situation will lead to mass migrations and, as a consequence, to conflicts and wars over this natural resource. According to the estimates of the World's Water Portal of the Pacific Institute, between 2010 and 2019, worldwide, there have been 466 water-related conflicts of various scales. 36 of them were armed battles, and 285 caused damage to water infrastructure. According to statistics, regions that had previously no problems with fresh water sources also find themselves in the zone of such conflicts. The researchers believe this trend will continue. The frequency of water conflicts will increase, affecting more and more countries.
The immune system is destroyed.
Around 1 million animals and plants are threatened with extinction. The global biomass of wild mammals has fallen by 82%. In the past century alone, the number of species that have gone extinct is as much as it would normally take 10,000 years to accrue. The current rate of extinctions is now rapidly approaching that of about 70 million years ago, when the dinosaurs went extinct in the most terrible era for fauna. In 2018, biologists estimated that given the current extinction rate of mammals, it would take 3 to 5 million years to restore the planet's diversity. The disappearance of plant and animal species leads to the instability of ecosystems and, consequently, to the disruption of natural human habitats. From the UN report, the projected biodiversity loss will affect all people, with particularly detrimental effects on indigenous peoples and local communities, as well as to the poorer and vulnerable groups, taking into account their dependence on biodiversity for their livelihoods.
The vital signs of the body are sharply impaired. The patient is in a critical condition, and brain tumor has been detected.
The consumer lifestyle of humans is like a malignant tumor on the Earth's body. It is constantly growing, consuming and consuming, and taking everything it needs from the macroorganism for itself. It doesn't share, doesn't think about others, which results in the death of the organism along with the cancer tumor. If no global action is taken today, tomorrow it will be too late. The planet you live on is dying. The creative society is our only chance.
Yes, I wanted to continue with our next speaker. And so, Diara, it is very important for us to know what is your understanding and the importance of this conference and how did you perceive it? So please, the floor is yours.
Здравствуйте. Да, так сложилось, что я не работаю по своему образованию как эколог. Тем не менее, эта тема волнует меня очень сильно, поэтому я с большой радостью приняла участие в подготовке к этой конференции. И этот ролик, который мы сейчас посмотрели, на самом деле я смотрела его несколько раз в процессе подготовки конференции, но даже сейчас он заставляет трепетать моё сердце. И его невозможно смотреть без каких-то эмоций, да, без каких-то реакций. На самом деле, та конференция, которая прошла 24 июля, «Глобальный кризис», это касается каждого, она была, на мой взгляд, грандиозна. Уже с той точки зрения, что она длилась 12 часов. 12 часов прямого эфира, это невозможно себе представить. 72 языка, на 72 языка производился синхронный перевод, и уже только эти масштабы впечатляют и говорят о том, насколько эта конференция была грандиозной. Тысячи людей были в ней задействованы. И мне кажется, что даже те участники, которые принимали участие в ее организации, в ее подготовке, они сами не подозревали, какой грандиозной она станет вообще, насколько сильной она получится. И основной мыслью конференции было то, что мы, как человечество, на самом деле не подозреваем, насколько далеко мы зашли в потреблении ресурсов, насколько губительны они для экологии и насколько далеко зашло для нас изменение климата уже сейчас. Мне также понравился акцент, который был сделан на конференции, на том, что проблемы экологии и климат — это разные вещи. И причинами климатического кризиса являются циклические процессы на планете, а экологический кризис вызван деятельностью человека. И если своей деятельностью мы можем повлиять на экологию, то перед климатическими катастрофами мы бессильны. Тем не менее, я считаю, что решать экологические проблемы все-таки нужно именно сейчас. Это особенно актуально в эпоху климатических катаклизмов. Как бы это пафосно не звучало, но на самом деле это сейчас уже происходит с нами. И подобно тому, как организм с хорошим иммунитетом способен справиться с тяжелыми болезнями, так и наша планета сможет легче справиться с климатическими катаклизмами. Экология в созидательном обществе должна стать нашим иммунитетом, который поможет нам выжить. Так же, как такой известный герой из книжки Робинзон Крузо вряд ли смог бы остаться живым на своем необитаемом острове без провизии инструментов, которые у него были, так и нам нужно иметь инструмент, чтобы пережить эти катастрофы. И чем в более разрушенном состоянии мы встретим катаклизмы, тем тяжелее и, возможно, даже смертельными они для нас окажутся. И это все то, что может нас защитить, и как важно быть готовыми справиться с предстоящими испытаниями, с предстоящими и происходящими уже сейчас. Спасибо.
Yes, thank you, Dilara, for your understandings. Really, so many factors which we do not take into account concerning ecological situation in the world and how it makes our planet more vulnerable for those climate cataclysms which are happening around the globe right now. Mr. Tushar Pancholi, let me address the same question to you. So for you, what was the most memorable part of this conference?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and to be the part of this great initiative. I think the most important part which I have been understand and also from my experience is the consumerism. And consumerism also leads to the development. And the different models of development, which is, I think, basis for consumerism. That is how we measure our development, how much we have consumed, how fast we consume. I think that is the measure for the development. And I think that that is the whole problem of whole society these days. And if we look at I was also looking at this title called earlier, we have reached the limit. I will say, I think we have crossed the limit. Not only reached the limit, but we have crossed the limit. And the most important is it is affecting everyone. It is affecting rich, it is affecting poor. So, but for some people it is affecting more, like poor people, and it is affecting less to privileged people, I will say, in the world. So I think that is what I see, the problem of ecology and then climate crisis. It is everything is linked basically. What I'm also looking is like water, air, and land. We have already like very much destroyed, destructed. That is all directly and indirectly affecting livelihoods of millions, or I will say billions of small people, poor people, or who are like direct. That affects directly to the people who are they are in touch with nature every day. So their natural resources are taken away by privileged people in the name of development. So I will say like small farmers or small ponds or small rivers are being polluted by industries and so many other activities. And these small people cannot do anything. And they are the one who are affected directly. And the worst thing is they are not responsible for what is going on, but they are the receiver in this world. So I think that we have to understand that focus has to go where, who is being affected at what level. We have to also recognize that and different level, and that is what right comes. Right to life, right to good life, right to good environment, which is being like taken away from these people. So that is where I think that is focus has to be, from my point of view, we need to focus on that issue also. Like few million people are controlling most of the earth. So billions of people are being affected due to activities by few of the million people. So that is how we have to, and this billion people have to come out and speak. And that is where I think, the role of creative society is very important, to bring this voice in front and let them contribute to what they want, what kind of earth we want, what kind of ecology we want, what kind of air we want. That has to come out. Children, next generations has to come out. So children and youth are very important part of the whole movement, can become a very important and should become very important part of movement to conserve our ecology and environment and the society, humankind itself. So that is what, like, when we discuss with like our people and school children, that what I discuss is like, if you look at lion or tiger or any other animal, they will never consume anything. They will take whatever from the forest, whatever they want for the time being as a natural process. So from them also, I think we have got to learn. That is what I would.
Thank you, Mr. Tushar, and thank you for your insight. I think you raised a very important topic. That was one of the main purpose of this conference, is really to show that what is affecting a part of the population on the planet is not like those people are actually not necessarily responsible, but as a whole, we are all responsible to make something better of our planet and to make sure that we can step out from this consumerism society that is impacting so much the planet. And I think it's a responsibility for each of us to have. So thank you very much again for your insight. I would like to now pass the floor to Dr. Satnam, and basically asking the same question to all of the speakers. What is the main things that you took out of this conference? What was the part of this conference that did something to you, like that you understood the most and that really inspired you?
In my belief, the main issue about this is people, even sitting at home, this is not a one-person job. Unless every individual is motivated, and unless every individual understands their duty. So importantly, I think we fall back on our governments, we fall back on the companies that are responsible, we fall back on the ministries, departments. I guess people are deluded in the way because they do not understand that regardless of who's creating the problem, it's now a case where people have to pick the pieces up. So we all have to come out and understand what our duties are. But saying that, it's not as easy as just saying we know our duties. So as a normal human being, they have to understand what is it that they can contribute. How can they help? So this is why it's so important to have seminars and summits like this, where you can, experts can come out, they can speak out, and they can then motivate people that, wait a second, you don't have to be an industrialist, you don't have to be a minister, you don't have to be an educationist, or you don't have to be someone specific to be able to aid. All you need to know is how to contribute to, make less pollution, how to contribute. So for example, even plastic waste. Say, for example, even, carbon. So just for normal people to understand that making too many journeys individually in a carpool, okay, or trying to use public transport. Like even, I think after COVID, people are kind of, getting worried about getting on public transports. So, this again, these little things, they matter. So in UK, say, for example, the council is trying to encourage people to cycle, things like that. The little things that can add up, but they can be such a significant change when everything is put together. So that is why it's so important. And I've seen all the experts, all the views all the pragmatic solutions they've been putting up. They've been giving us all the real status of how the situation is, mapping up. Because even the speaker before me was saying that we thinking that we actually hitting the limit. Whereas the situation is we've crossed the limit already. Okay, so there's so much damage done. And now if we really want to cope up, if we really want to bring something back, if we really want to sustain something, it is like we have to almost run and see how we can actually, we can actually pace up with that. So importantly that I think we have online lectures, we have students, in classes that are actually given physical lessons about these. They actually carried, they're given some kind of curriculum where they're following activities. So I'm actually part of one of the universities, IIU, and we're actually working on a summit now for 17 days. We'll be having 100 countries involved and having speakers throughout the countries. And we're trying to get to almost every school and to make these students understand and get them involved so they understand what the 17 sustainable goals are. So that becomes their life. Unless we do these kind of things where we can educate every human being how they can help and how they can be a part of it, then it's difficult. As a chain, as a group, as an institution, it's easier when everyone is moving that way. You just join in, you're part of it, and you know that you've done your job. As an individual, I think sometimes people don't know what to do. That is why I focus mainly on that, because these little things, these are very minor to think about, okay, but being a part of that, common world, being the part of just a common man, that unless you know how to contribute, you will not do it. Okay, because obviously, whatever pitfalls COVID's left and all the economic, whatever difficulties people are facing, it is very easy to get absorbed in all the problems that we have already and forget about the bigger threat that we have, this global crisis. It's so easy, isn't it? Because we're all actually kind of spared in our own problems at the moment. Our jobs, our prospects, future is like a way apart. At the moment, people are thinking, how do we survive in our health? How do we survive? How do we come out? How do we actually economically balance ourselves? So at the same time, to keep this understanding going with them that, wait a second, we can counterbalance one, but then we have a higher threat that probably will come out of this. But then having no planet to be somewhere, we have no planet. So where are what are we looking at? It's not even a case now where we can say, okay, our kids or our future generations will not have somewhere to be or somewhere safe to be. It's now been such a disastrous, zone that we don't even know that in our own lifetime we'll see something. Already we're seeing things happening. I've heard things like in Toronto, 40 people died out of a heat wave. I mean, do you know what I mean? So it means like the whole global situation, this climatic zone, everything is changed. We don't know when the crisis start to, these pandemics, whatever coming from. So that is why it's so important what you guys are doing. And it was such a wonderful experience to hear from everyone. I actually was sharing all these videos around because this is what is required. This is honestly what is required, awareness. So I would thank, like I said, I'm very, very grateful. And the more we can do, I guess, the more people can come out and talk about it. And also, more people can give more information on how they can help and how they can join groups. If they individually don't know what to do, they can join certain kind of groups. I think more organizations need to come up and start, some kind of projects where people can independently join a little bit and do like maybe plantations, some kind of plantation sprees where they help you, where they get you plants and then they encourage you to come out and spend maybe hour a week or something, things like that have to come out. So all people have to understand it, that every little helps. No one has to think that if it's only me, how does it matter? It's only me. One me is not going to change the world. But yes, one me for someone, that is their world. So this little thought is very important, I guess, that we all start to think about our duties, not our rights. At the moment, I think we really have to come out. We have to think about collaborations. We have to forget about who takes the credit. We just have to think that if we are not there, that will make a difference. So I guess that kind of attitude we do need to live with. Very important. A lot of these organizations I see in UK, because I work with them, they kind of working day and night, because I actually actively work with them. That is why I know more about them, saying that. But there are so many more around the world. People are getting people are concerned. They are concerned that it is their planet. Wait a second, someone needs to take the responsibility, because some profit consumers, some people who are getting their pockets heavy on fossil fuels and all that kind of things. It is difficult because they have to outweigh that sometimes this planet is also for them. They can't just look, be selfish and look at their own gains and then leave people, struggling. So that's why I said, yes, we all do need to see whatever we can. And hopefully the message goes to people who can really significantly help. Because, yes, as an individual, you can only put what you can do. But these big offenders, the big climatic offenders, they really have to, understand. And then the only way to stop them is to actually raise more and more awareness, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so thank you so much, Dr. Satnam, for your feedbacks and, of course, for your deep understanding of the situation. You said that we should be aware of the global situation, and that's actually the problem today, that people do not know what's happening in other parts of the world. So then maybe, Jonathan, we can ask the next question. Our guest, our speaker, Mr. Tushar. Jonathan.
Yes, thank you, Florina. So yeah, Mr. Tuchar, you are working with rural community. So could you please share with us your opinion on the state of the environment and the effect on the local communities?
Yes, that's a good question, I think. Yeah. So I've been working with local community, especially and in the coastal area with fishing community, and then some farmers are involved mainly. And in those situations, especially this fishing community is affected largely by the pollution being released in the sea. And that is, and it is directly affecting the quantity and quality of fish catch. And that directly affecting the livelihood of those thousands of people. And what I have learned from them is like last 30, 40 years, the whole fish diversity has vanished, has been finished, thanks to this pollution and overfishing. And also with this small farmers I'm working in the rural area, it's a huge impact, especially on the farmers who are practicing rain-fed farming, whose farming is totally dependent on rain. And thanks to the climate change occurrences in last, I will say, 10 years, the rain has been very unpredictable. And in where I'm working is kind of a arid area and very traditionally a very less water rain area. But now if you see last 10 years, it's very heavy rains. And so it is resulting in soil erosion, loss of crops, loss of livelihood, directly affecting the living standards of these people. And this results in the migration to urban areas for the sake of job, leaving these lands, which is a very precious resource, being damaged, and also causing you can say permanent damage to the soil. So this is happening on a large scale. Large scale means it's like every year, few hundred hectares of land are being destroyed due to pollution. And another way of pollution in this area is the salinity ingress. We say this because of the too much of saline, too much of extraction of water, groundwater. The saline water, the sea water is coming inside the fertile area. And this directly, another way of destroying this area, and this farming land has become saline, again resulting in migration to urban areas. And so these 2-3 phenomena, again I will say they are not responsible for what is going on around. And they are facing the results of a climate change, climate crisis in their villages. And it's a huge loss of livelihood, loss of health, and I will say results in so many misery. People cannot go to school. Children cannot go to school because they don't have enough income to send them school. And then, so many things happening. That is what I would like to say.
Just the importance of raising these issues, it's impossible to overestimate actually, because as Dr. Satnam already said today, each person on the planet should realize the scale of the problem and see the clear solution of it, see the exit actually. And if we look at what is happening right now, after the conference has gone, Amidst a lot of flooding, we are also seeing glaciers melting at an enormous rate. So, for example, Greenland, 8.5 billion tons of ice melted in just one day on July 27, 2020. Yes, and thus the threat of flooding entire cities and countries is becoming even more acute. So I would like to address my next question to Dr. Satnam Durchakar. Dr. Satnam.
Can I add some small thing? Yeah, that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to make our people that what is going on, what is climate change, and how we have to cope up with in future. So we are trying to educate them in that on those issues also. So it's a long process, difficult process, but we are trying to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, please.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Tushar, for addition. And this is actually the responsibility of each of us now, people who already know what's happening around the globe, to inform other people. But I would like to ask Dr. Satnam the question about the scale. How should we do it? So, Dr. Satnam, what do you think? Can a single country cope with this problem, or we should act together?
No, definitely. I always say that these things, they're not handled alone. It's not easy to handle anything alone. This problem, this whatever situation we're facing, it's a global situation. And countries, look, when pandemic happened, we thought, what happened? Everyone, regardless, people had to think about the other country, isn't it? Because that effect is coming from there to here. People are traveling, so it's circulating. But the global situation is still the same, because people, there are, fossil fuels or this carbon imprints, they're happening wherever, our solar system, our ecosystem is absorbing things. They're from everywhere. You can't just say that one country will be okay because they're following the rules. They're trying to be good. Because we're living under the same sky, isn't it? So we can't actually, so it's so important that this phenomena of, thinking about this global crisis has to be a one family, like a one world family. Everyone has to come together at the same time and think that we as a country, we as a state, we as a family, we as a myself, what are we trying to do? Because this problem, like I said, this is something that has to be instilled, like us drinking water or actually eating. Should be our programmatic. We need to be programmed on. The way we think. We get up in the morning. We know these are our duties. This is what I have to do to feed my family. I have to go to work. So it's almost the same level of awareness we need within our own self. Oh, I'm a person. My planet has this issue. Unless I make some little changes every day, that will actually help towards it, I'm not doing my job. This is the level we need to get to. I think this is the level really we need to get to. Otherwise, it's so difficult. Otherwise, even as a country, like I said, even if we have all our, we have the summits, we have the, the Global Council sitting, we have the Geo Summits and G13, whatever we have, they can only put measures in, they can only put steps in, they can only put, legislation in. We have to follow. Do you know what I mean? So individually, we have to follow. Yes, governments put, what they can do is they put it as a law. They put penalties or fines. Okay, don't do this, don't do that. But like I said, it all really depends on individual as well. Yes, that is why I said we need to provide more help to individuals for us to understand. So awareness, like I said, very important. Awareness to a level where people are educated almost, like a effort, this effort, it can't be just, okay, this has to be collective effort from the institutions. Like I said, we're dealing with a lot of schools at the moment, a lot of universities, schools, colleges, trying to put them all together, doing competition of SGTs. Why? Because we want people to understand that there is, it is very unfortunate, that when sometimes we're talking to some even government employees somewhere in the world, they're not even aware of even these sustainable development goals. They don't understand them. So think about that. Do you know what I mean? So the awareness level, what I'm thinking about is how do we reach to masses? How do we reach out to more and more people? So the only answer is more help, more awareness, more collaborations, more people initiatives. So a lot of more is required, I guess. A very unfortunate situation, but yes, the more we can come out, at least we know that we're making our best effort. We can't control the whole situation, but we can control our situation. We can see how best we can modify our actions or how best we can come out and support this. So I guess that is what I normally believe in.
Thank you very much for your answer. And it really makes sense that, nothing is stopping at the border of a country where a country now, we are all here on the entire earth and everybody is concerned and everybody needs to be aware. And so that communication needs to go to everybody and nothing can just be done by one person or by a group of persons or by a country, by a government. It has to be very mutual and unity activities. So, dear speaker, thank you very much for your answers, for expressing your personal view on the issues. Dr. Ulrich Kubinger, CEO VTA Group from Australia, gave an interview specifically for the roundtable. So I would like to listen to what he had to say.
Wir sind sehr einfach aufgewachsen.
We grew up very simply and we never had clean water at home. We were rather poor people, simply working class people. In 1957, it was not common in our village that people should have everything. And I always had the desire, even as a little boy, to make the water clean. That really concerned me, because the water was so brown. Yes, and that has run like a thread through my life. I have developed 2,000 products since 1992 until today. I also have many patents. From my perspective, I see water as a finite resource. Water does not reproduce itself. We have to get water over and over again through the recirculation process. If this water becomes contaminated, then we have lost the water. That's the next issue. We're cementing our soils and then, of course, we don't have any drainage areas anymore. And what happens if the drainage areas are too small? But it is because of these water pockets that are now emptying that there occurs the slowing of streams. And for example, because of the well-known slowing of the Gulf Stream, we are sliding into a climate catastrophe that will inevitably come our way. In my view, this can no longer be dismissed. And if we don't do something about it, nature will show us that in principle it doesn't need us. The reality is that when you see that the poles are melting and that the glaciers are melting, and if you imagine that, no matter what, in Austria, in Switzerland, the glaciers have melted in the last 20 years, up to 140 or 170 meters, and they are more or less dissolving into water. The sea level is rising. The water is warming. Nevertheless, I can't measure global warming by one hot summer that follows a not so hot summer. That would be too trivial. But overall, there is warming on the planet. And in my opinion, and I hope I am mistaken here, if we don't do anything about it, we're going to see a global climate crisis in 2050 or 2055 at most. Yes, there will be migration because of the desertification. we see that this drought is intensifying in large parts of the world. The deserts are growing, and you see it. California is certainly a thriving land, but I don't know if that's still true. Think for a few years. Anyway, I know 5 major economic powers where this is the case. In California, wells are drying up. People are selling land today. Not small pieces of land, but large areas, because they no longer have water. And they only buy land where there is still water, where wells still function. In South America or elsewhere, where monocultures are being cultivated today, be it with papayas or other fruits that need a lot of water, there is no water left on the opposite shore. Or let's go to Uzbekistan, where we're right on the subject of the Aral Sea, which in the end, we have to say quite clearly, the sea has dried up down to a small part. And the dust that escapes from the ground makes the children sick with tuberculosis and all kinds of dust diseases, because the ground is also contaminated. So here we do have a problem. We also see a problem with microplastics, but I see even worse with hospital germs and especially with medical contamination. Microcontaminants, wastewater, everything that we practically flush down the toilet or through a sink that comes back somewhere. It is not gone, but it comes back to us. The cycle is not stopped. I find this conversation with you to be one of the most meaningful conversations I've had in recent years, because there are many people in front of me who hold solidarity or the social collectivity in their hearts as much as I do. I would like to thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your very insightful and information that you just gave us. Very, very, very insightful. So I would like to continue with Diara. So we know that you were taking part in gathering the information for the conference. So taking part in this huge analytical process. And when I say huge, it has been gathering a lot of people working on it. So could you please share your understanding? What is the personal responsibility of each person and society as a whole for the environmental crisis we are finding ourselves in today? Please, the floor is yours.
Спасибо за вопрос. Вы знаете, мне кажется, с точки зрения обывателя, мы знаем, что да, проблемы экологии существуют, мы слышим о них, но они как будто где-то для нас в параллельной вселенной. Если даже посмотрим каждый день, как мы его проживаем с позиции среднестатистического человека, мы просыпаемся, выпиваем стакан чистой воды, ежедневный ритуал, да, который нам прописывают врачи. И так ли чиста эта вода на самом деле? Как уже говорилось сегодня, где на нашей планете еще сохранились источники действительно чистой воды, особенно для жителей мегаполиса или бедных слоев населения в развивающихся странах. Да, воду фильтруют, но образцово-показательно эту воду трудно назвать. И как мы видели на конференции 24 июля, пластик, который попадает в мировой океан, он никуда не девается. Он просто остается в воде. И микропластик — это один из ингредиентов наших напитков и еды. Мы не знаем, сколько микропластика попадает к нам на стол каждый день. И вот мы готовим этот завтрак. Что мы делаем потом? Мы выходим на улицу, вдыхаем воздух, загрязненный всеми видами транспорта, производств. У нас действительно нет экологически чистых источников энергии, а те альтернативные источники, например, солнечные батареи или ветряная энергия, о которых тоже упоминалось в конференции, на самом деле не так чисты, как нам кажется. И более того, они не работают должным образом, так как нам бы этого хотелось. Достаточно вспомнить, что случилось с Южными Штатами США в этом году зимой, когда солнечные батареи вышли из строя, и миллионы людей остались без электричества. Зеленая энергетика не прошла проверку на прочность. Но если вернемся опять к нашим ежедневным действиям, мы приезжаем на работу в офис, где используем бумагу, для изготовления которой вырубается лес. Мы слышали на конференции масштабы исчезающих с нашей планеты лесов, которые сопоставимы с 4 территориями Германии. И этот объем очень трудно восстановить, потому что даже те деревья, которые сажаются, нужно еще вырастить, и за ними нужно ухаживать точно так же, как мы ухаживаем за садовыми деревьями на своей даче, особенно в странах с неблагоприятным климатом. Далее мы покупаем стаканчик кофе. Еще неизвестно, что на самом деле хуже, пластиковый стаканчик или бумажный, потому что на чаше весов неразлагаемый пластик и срубленное дерево. Мы идем в магазин, покупаем себе продукты с разнообразной упаковкой, и в основном это пластик, про который мы говорили. Но даже бумажные пакеты не спасают ситуацию, потому что их производят из деревьев. Мы приезжаем домой, приготовив ужин, сортируем свой мусор, но мы не знаем, что происходит с ним в дальнейшем. Далеко не в каждом городе есть заводы по переработке мусора. И те, что есть, они вряд ли справятся со всем объемом. Мы просто перекладываем мусор с одного места на другое. Мы перекладываем точно так же ответственность на других людей, на экологов, на политиков. Но что происходит сейчас в сфере экологии, как природоохранного института? По сути, экология сейчас стала инструментом зарабатывания денег. Это не решение проблем. Это, может быть, именно то, почему я оставила свой диплом эколога на полке. Но каждый день я наблюдаю, как экологическая ситуация ухудшается, и после конференции 24 июля я уже не могу оставаться просто наблюдателем. Я хочу видеть, как мы, люди, могли бы это исправить. Да, активисты пытаются что-то сделать на локальном уровне. Например, расчищают от мусора ближайшую полянку, но что это решает? Да, есть такие организации, как Greenpeace, ООН. Но кто за ними стоит? Почему? В частности, ООН не разрешила своему члену выступить на прошедшей конференции, где собрались люди мира поговорить об экологии и климате. Действительно ли они заинтересованы решать эти проблемы? Таким образом, как мы видим, абсолютно каждый из нас каждый день вносит свой вклад в разрушение собственного дома. Так не поступают даже самые глупые животные. Это не где-то там далеко. Это происходит с нами, с каждым из нас.
Yes, indeed, Dilara. And the problem is that in the consumer society, we do not have a way out of this cycle of garbage, cycle of polluting our water, because the system is constructed in the way so that we do not have any other opportunity. But as you said, the responsibility is on each person, because if we understand what we are doing each day, what we are doing with our planet, with the air we are breathing now, with the air our children will breathe in the future, what we live, what planet we live for them. So if we think about it, if we understand what we are doing now, we can change it. But if we do not understand, if we are like dreaming, just dreaming in the sweet dream of consumerism, we will not be able to change anything. So now let's move on and think out how can we come out of this? How can we solve all these issues and the issue of the polluting our ecosystem in the creative society? Let's speak about creative society. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker. This is Yue Yang, PhD, Secretary General of the Russian-Chinese Association of Painting and Calligraphy, recorded specifically for the Global Crisis Conference. Let's watch the video.
Hello, my name is Yue Yang, and I'm delighted to be here in ALLATRA's Global Online Conference on July 24th. The global crisis, it already affects everyone. Just to briefly introduce myself, a few years ago, I finished my master's and doctor's studies in international relations at Moscow University. And now, I am the Secretary General of the Russian-Chinese Calligraphy Association. It's a great pleasure to meet you all. People are constantly consuming, including consumption of many natural resources. This causes serious damage and greatly changes the environment on which our life directly depends. The format of society in which human activities are driven by personal interests and material profits is not sustainable. That's why I think that working hard to achieve the ideal and believing that you are doing something right is truly wonderful. This is really significant and will definitely be fruitful. I believe that in our society there should be many people like me, and many people who are even more active than me, even more knowledgeable than me, and more socially influential. And as long as everyone interacts together, they will get closer and closer to the ideal life, that's for sure, because I've seen it in my life. This proves this ideal and the real striving for such a society. And that's what ALLATRA International Public Movement is all about, working together to build a creative society, and we're all humans. The universe and nature are like a single organism, and human beings should coexist harmoniously with universe and this nature. This is the way of heaven and earth.
Thank you, Yu Yang, for your very inspiring contribution to this roundtable. I think you really got it right, and it's all about this really unification that is very important to have, and having more and more people having this drive and strive for the future. So I have a question for actually all our esteemed speakers. Can we deal with this crisis individually? Or should we choose the way of unification? Dr. Santnam, I pass the floor to you to answer that question, please.
Yes, I'm always about unification. I always said that. You know, even if you look at the home situation, even in a family, you know, unless the whole family is united, you can't deal with issues that come home. Do you know what I mean? So, like always, why I say this is, we really have to now treat this world as a family. This is a family issue, okay? And this world is ours. This planet is ours. We want to be here. We want to be safe. We want to cultivate it. We need to start thinking together. We need to start working as a unit. It will not work otherwise, unfortunately, because so much has gone wrong. The only way to rectify it is to be just sticking together, making it work, making every possible solution that can, bring about even a little change, not thinking about the limitations of what can or can not happen. We just have to think about how quickly we can actually adhere to whatever solutions are around us. So just join hands. Like I said, always, the more awareness that can there be, that is more easier, because unless there is awareness, people normal people sitting at home, they listen to the news. Yes, they listen to it. It is there for a minute, it's gone. So some kind of very concrete effort needs to be there, with the government, with the schools, with the institutions, with even like corporates, we're everywhere. This has to be something that has to be a topic of, something, I think a realization topic where, like I said, almost like your own kind of job list. Unless we make it that kind of, that kind of priority, then it's very difficult. That is why I say it is, this individual effort that we can put in collectively will make a difference. And if we start relying on each other, if we start relying on others, it is difficult, because think about it, losing one at a time, and then it's the whole world, isn't it? But then again, the same way, if you're putting one and one together, that just brings every one of us, isn't it? And then if everyone is doing the right thing, if everyone is trying to work the way they should be, then it's less job for us collectively, isn't it? So very little thing, very little thought, but we are the change makers. We actually are the change makers, and we do have the power to change the world. Because in our own self, our world, we try to balance, and then everything, falls back in their own space. So yes, we do need a unified kind of approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's such a great pleasure to hear your understandings, and realize that there are a lot of people around the globe who actually are striving for actions, are striving for unifications, are striving to solve these problems. Not, I like hide in my own house, yes, and I do not see all these issues which are around me on the globe. And I would like to ask you, Mr. Tushar Pancholi. Mr. Tushar, what do you think? How can we bring this message, raise the awareness of each person on the planet today? What can each of us do to bring this message to each person?
I think there are many ways of doing it. Of course, it's a complex task, big task, huge task. But we have to do it. We must take this message of unification, coming onto one platform, and what are the issues and what are the solutions we are looking for, and what can be the solutions. All these things need to go to each and everyone on this planet. And I think that is how we can make them participate in the finding the solutions and be the part of finding the solution. I think that is the most important thing we need to do. That is where unification, coming on the same platform, same level of understanding, like what kind of planet, what kind of environment, and we need. I think not I or me, but we is the keyword. From one of the indigenous groups in Northeast in India, I heard this word called solidarity economy. It's a one village. So we want, like, in solidarity, we have to come together. Solidarity of the earth and solidarity of the humankind. I think that is where we want, that solidarity will save us. That is the only way of doing it. So I think that solidarity is the key word for each other. Yeah, I think there are so many ways of doing it. We are like, if you say we are like a civil society organization, we are thinking to the last person, like educated, non-educated, highly educated. Everyone has to be educated, and we have to use different tools to get this message. Like for one educated person, we have very different type of tool, and then like we have this kind of a conference. An uneducated person won't be able to learn from this conference, but we have to use, like I will be using this knowledge and transferring it to the local people in the local language or many other ways of doing it. So like street plays, and we have like plays and storytelling, and so many things we can do, and so much to do. I think it's such a complex situation and so much to do, and we need so many people to come up. We need more and more volunteers, like this creative society group. No, like we have to take this idea to everywhere. And that is how we'll get through this point, and we have to do it quickly, fast, because the climate, the effects of the activities that is going on is also affect on environment is very fast. So we have to also be very quick and fast and very effective to the point. What we are telling them and how we are telling them should be like, we need very good strategy, very good plan, and then the very good implementation of the whole thing. So like coming on one, we have like global like network like this, and then we have a common message and taking it to the almost everywhere, wherever we can reach. I think that is how we can do it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to really admit that I really agree with what you say regarding this solidarity, because it's really the main point, how we can unite people into solidarity. You don't impose solidarity onto people for them to do something, but they have to recognize it themselves, what they have to do, and then provide that solidarity to other people, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very good way of putting in place that this information will enable people to, from their self, from their interior, realize what they have to do and then start doing it. But we will never work like the consumerism society that is imposing something on people. So thank you very much again for your insight. I would like to move on to Dilara, and could you please continue also on answering this question, please?
Да, конечно. Это очень важно, объединяться нам, всем людям. И, к сожалению, пока еще не все понимают, почему именно. Вот когда я смотрела конференцию, я читала комментарии зрителей, которые впервые услышали о созидательном обществе. И очень много было вопросов, подобных тому: да, конференция очень классная, все супер, очень хорошо освещены все проблемы, но что нам с этим делать? Какой вы предлагаете из этого выход? И когда им отвечали на эти вопросы, что выход из этого — это созидательное общество, они не понимали, как, почему. Для них эти два слова были просто два слова, простым звуком. Но для меня и, наверное, как и для многих тех, кто уже готовился, да, к этой конференции, организовывал ее, проводил, и многих других людей, сопричастных к этому, это не пустой звук. Это на самом деле созидательное общество — это желание людей, выраженное в его 8 основах, в которых основная мысль — это все, что бы ни делалось, какая бы сфера жизни ни была затронута, все это должно действовать во благо людей, потому что основная ценность — это жизнь человека. И вот, отталкиваясь от этого, наука в созидательном обществе была бы направлена на благо людей, а не ради наживы отдельных корпораций. Наука бы развивалась в условиях созидательного общества быстрыми темпами. И мы могли бы прийти к технологиям, которые превратили бы, если брать в частности проблему мусора, превратили бы мусор в ценнейший ресурс, изготавливая из него все, буквально все, от еды до одежды. Каким образом? Разлагая его на элементарные частицы, а потом собирая из этих элементарных частиц все, что нам нужно. И уже только это решило бы существенный пласт экологических проблем. Вы можете себе это представить? И даже когда просто листаешь соцсети, наталкиваешься на какие-то там новости, где какие-то школьники придумали какую-то новую технологию по переработке отходов. Даже школьники с этим могут справиться. Но почему-то у нас эти технологии не внедряются, потому что мы сейчас живем в потребительском обществе. Поэтому очень важно каждому человеку понять, для чего нам нужно это созидательное общество, что это не простой звук, что это не просто пара слов. За этим стоит вполне осознанная, осязаемая реальность. И к тому же климатические катастрофы — это то, с чем мы не сможем справиться по отдельности. Безусловно, здесь важна взаимопомощь, взаимовыручка, но эта помощь должна быть не только от человека к человеку. Она должна исходить от уклада общества в целом. Если мы знаем, что нас ждет опасность, то мы можем все сферы науки, тот же самый искусственный интеллект направить на успешное прогнозирование, предупреждение опасности, спасение жизни людей. Это как экосистема, не набор отдельных элементов. Это единый живой организм, и все в нем взаимосвязано. И каждый человек является неотъемлемой единицей этой экосистемы, зависит от нее и влияет на нее в целом. Спасибо.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Dilara. And thank you all, dear speakers, for your understandings, for your striving, for your inspiration. And indeed, only together we can cope with it and create such a beautiful world. Dilara just described us some technologies we can have in the creative society. Indeed, when the human's life is the first value, the highest value, won't we do anything to save the human's life, to save our world, to create beautiful conditions for each other? Because valuing life, human's life, you value your personal life and life of people around you. And when each person understands it innerly, as Jonathan said today, then we have this creative society. So as we see, the global crisis that we are facing now is much more serious than we used to think. And to be prepared prepared for it, we need to be united. We need to realize our close connection with each other. While we are separated and while we shift the responsibility to others, we won't be strong enough and smart enough and prompt enough to solve the issue. What we really need now is to unite all of our human potential to help our planet and help each other to overcome this global crisis. And to do this, we first need to inform people around the world, to inform about the true reasons of global climate change, as well as about the real global ecological situation in the world. So, dear viewers, we invite you to join this wave to record your video feedbacks about the conference that we've discussed today. Invite your friends and colleagues to this discussion also. And also, we invite you to watch the next conference on December 4th, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. And let's meet in the following roundtables. Thank you all, dear guests, dear speakers, for your attention, for being with us today. Thank you.